More and more people are beginning to talk about the state of the mental state of the man accused of killing Spencer and Monique Tepe, guy named Michael McKee, who is the former husband of Monique Tepe, talking about his fragile little self and things that they know about him. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the indictment that was handed down. There's some very, very important information in there. So stick around. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another True Crime Conversation with me, Gavin Fish. Thank you very much for joining me wherever you're joining me from. Don't forget to tell me in the comments if you're with me on the live stream, put it in the live chat. If you're in the rewatch crew or on the podcast, definitely put it in the comments. I love hearing where you guys are from. And yeah, speaking of which, I don't know how many of you know that I do upload this as a podcast. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it all over wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah, if that's your thing, definitely do that. Yeah, so tonight we are talking about the Tepes, Spencer and Monique Tepe, who died violently and tragically, according to police anyway, at the hands of Michael McKee in Ohio, just in their home, just a few blocks away from their alma mater on December 30th. Dang it. Now I'm second guessing myself. I should have these notes. You know, a professional would have notes on this. Was it, maybe this is yeah, December 30th. Okay. I second guessed myself, but I got it. The Tepes, just so you know, Spencer was a dentist. He worked about an hour away from home. And on the 30th, calls were made to 911 by coworkers and friends, by the owner of his practice, saying, Dr. Tepe has not shown up for work, and that is way out of character for him. And what's even more disturbing is that Monique can't be contacted. So they asked for a wellness check. There was a bit of a snafu. A police officer went to the wrong house. Friends converged on the house. They could hear a baby crying inside. Finally, police came. Well, actually, one of the friends saw a body. Police finally responded and found that Monique Tepe had been shot once in the chest. Spencer Tepe had been shot multiple times. And the man that police say is responsible for this is this man, Michael McKee, a vascular surgeon. Dr. McKee, also a graduate of The Ohio State University and former husband to Monique Tepe, has been charged in the murder. He was indicted late last week, and we've got that indictment we are going to read. There is some information in there that I think is important to read for us to know, because a lot of us, I mean, anytime something like this happens, our question, the collective question is why? Why? As Stewie Griffin would say, wheat thins? You want to eat some wheat thins? Why? Why? Why did this beautiful family get torn apart? Why did these two young parents lose their lives in such a violent and unnatural way? Now, one of the places where we can go to maybe understand it a little bit is the indictment. And then I think I'm going out of order from how I have my tabs set up. I think we're going to go to the indictment first, and then I want to hear from one of their friends. So come with me, will you, over to Acrobat, to this indictment, which was passed down on the 16th, which was Friday. State of Ohio, Franklin County, the grand jury term beginning January 9th, an indictment for aggravated murder 2 counts with specifications, aggravated burglary, 1 count with specifications, and aggravated murder, 2 counts with specifications. And you will see that the first 2 counts are the Ohio Code subsection 2903.01a, and the second is subsection 2903.01b. So if we're asking ourselves, how does somebody get charged with 4 counts of murder for murdering 2 people? It's because the grand jury is saying he violated 2 sections of the law. Let's begin with count 1, aggravated murder. This is subsection A. The jurors of the grand jury of the state of Ohio, duly selected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire of crimes and offenses committed within the body of Franklin County in the state of Ohio, upon their oath, do find and present that Michael McKee, late of said county, meaning he previously lived in this county, on or about December 30th, 2025, within the county of Franklin, aforesaid, in violation of 2903.01a of the Ohio Revised Code, did purposefully and with prior calculation and design cause the death of Monique Tepe. There are a couple specifications. Both of them firearms related. One at 2941.145a and one at 2941.144a. The grand jurors further find and specify that Michael McKee had a firearm on or about his person or under his control while committing the offense and used it to facilitate the offense. And I'm not sure. I mean, it does say that one is a 6-year specification, one is a 3-year specification. Here we are. The grand jurors further find and specify that Michael McKee had a firearm that was equipped with a firearm muffler or suppressor on or about his person or under his control while committing the offense. Now, this, guys, to me, goes to pre-planning, right? If you are going to attach a suppressor to your firearm, those are not easy to buy, okay? You have to have, I'm sure all states have different codes, but I think it's federally, there's a federal mandate here. I should have, again, a professional would have looked this up, but no, you cannot just go into Walmart or into Bass Pro Shops or Big Five Sporting Goods or whatever and purchase a suppressor. You have to have very specific licensure in most places, all the places that I'm aware. Or let me say that again, all of the places of which I'm aware. You have to have a special license for that. Now, could it possibly be that he 3D printed this or that he manufactured it himself? I mean, I will admit to this, since I was like 15 when I committed the offense, but my friend and I used to fire his .22 with homemade mufflers made out, in some cases, out of potatoes, in some cases made out of like 2-liter bottles and, other things. So it's possible that it's something that he manufactured, or manufactured being a loose term for taped some things to the end of his firearm, all the way to maybe he 3D printed it, which, by the way, requires a special barrel too. Like it requires some planning, is what I'm saying here. Okay. Page 2. This is an aggravated murder charge with both specifications. This of Spencer Tepe, and again said that he had a firearm on his person and he had a firearm equipped with a muffler or suppressor. I should be showing you this. Here we go. Push the right button, Gavin. There we go. So that is page 2. So that's count 2. Count 3 is aggravated burglary. The jurors of the grand jury of the state of Ohio, duly selected, impaneled, sworn, and charged to inquire of crimes and offenses committed within the body of Franklin County in the state of Ohio, upon their oath, do find and present that Michael McKee, late of said county, on or about December 30th, within the county of Franklin, aforesaid, in violation of 2911.11a of the Ohio Revised Code, did by force, stealth, or deception trespass as defined in section 2911.21a1 of the Revised Code in an occupied structure or in a separately secured or separately occupied portion of an occupied structure when Spencer Tepe and Monique Tepe, a person other than the accomplice, was present with purpose to commit in the structure or in the separately secured or separately occupied portion of the structure any criminal offense, and the offender inflicted physical harm on Spencer Tepe and or Monique Tepe, and or the offender had a deadly weapon, to wit, a firearm, on or about his person under his control. One of the things that, I see charges like this all the time. I think when we think burglary, we are thinking that they're going to commit some sort of larceny, some sort of theft. But burglary really is more about the entering of a structure where you don't have permission to be there, right? And you're doing it by stealth. Specifications are that he had a firearm on his person, and that the firearm was equipped with a muffler or suppressor. So that's count 3. Count 4. Let's see what is different about this. So this is the next set of murder charges. So blah, 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 blah. On or about December 30th, within the county of Franklin, aforesaid, in violation of 2903.01b of the Ohio Revised Code, did purposefully cause the death of Monique Tepe while committing and or fleeing immediate after committing the offense of aggravated burglary. Okay, so the first couple of charges or counts are that he premeditatedly murdered the Tepes. The next counts are that he did so while in the commission of aggravated burglary. And then, of course, he had a firearm, and that firearm was equipped with a muffler or suppressor. And then count 5 has to do with, it's the same count, but against Spencer Tepe. I'm curious to hear what your comments will be on this. I think, like in Ohio, let me go just do a quick little search real quick, little search-a-rooney. What are the elements of aggravated murder? Just want to find out what elements they have to prove. Okay, so element number 1 is that there was prior calculation and design. A person purposefully causes the death of another with prior calculation and design. The elements of that are, let's see. The defendant acted purposefully. The defendant caused the death of another. The killing was planned or calculated beforehand, more than a split-second decision. This is Ohio's version of premeditated murder. The next one is killing certain protected persons like police officers, first responders, corrections officers. There's a murder for hire version of it. There's killing while committing certain felonies like burglary. There's killing of a child under 13, and then by prisoner. So I think the ones that apply here are the prior calculation and design, is premeditated murder. He acted purposefully. He caused the death of another. It was planned or calculated beforehand. And then the other one would be he caused the death while committing or attempting serious felonies like aggravated burglary. The elements are that the defendant purposefully caused the death, that the death occurred during the commission or attempt of the enumerated felony. So I don't think these are going to be all that hard to prove, folks, because from what we understand from the police chief, they have the gun. They have the gun. And this is, I mean, this, spit it out, Gavin. It is so interesting to me that a person as highly educated as a vascular surgeon would not have the common sense. I mean, I'm glad he didn't, but would not have the common sense to rid himself of the murder weapon and the suppressor. It's like, I wonder if that goes to his ego, right? Maybe, I mean, there are a couple things that I'm thinking of here. Maybe it goes more to his, I'm going to get caught anyway. Maybe he thought that. Or maybe he was just like, I'm not going to get caught. I was so smart. I was so good at this. I did this so perfectly well. And I don't know this, but this is just me speculating. I stalked them. I figured out how to get into the house. You know, I covered my face. The whole thing. But guys, for every major crime that is planned and let's say accomplished, there are like 50 different mistakes that everybody makes along the way. I don't know. I just feel like somebody who is, first of all, he's not a young man, right? He's in his 30s. Somebody with, or 40s maybe. I don't even know how old he is. Do we know how old is Michael McKee, the man accused of killing the Tepes? How old is he? 39. Okay, so he's 39 years old. He's had some life experience, and he's highly educated. I mean, what a Del Holio, I say. By the way, thank you to those of you who are asking the questions about the Dill Hole coffee mug. This is my favorite coffee mug. I have another one. I have a just one more episode Gavin Fish coffee mug that I use every once in a while. But my favorite is the Dill Hole. I think it's understated, and I think it makes my point every time I take a little sip. And thank you to those who have ordered those on the site. That is, you guys taking care of me. It means the world. Thanks so much. But anyway, I wonder if this goes to his ego as well. I want to read your comments on this before we move on to my next planned thing. Let me bring up the Tepes here, and just go to your comments. Let's see where you guys are coming in from. First off, what do we got? St. Augustine, Florida is in the house. Marietta, Georgia. Awesome. Jacksonville, Florida. Pittsburgh, PA. Colorado. Palm Harbor, Florida. Is that pronounced Niter, Idaho? Chris Ross is from England, Oregon, North Carolina, Colorado Springs, Georgia, Ontario. Let's see, Erie, PA, and it was the 30th. Thank you very much, Detroit. Virginia in the house from Mooney, Hot Springs, Arkansas, Texas, Liverpool, from Liverpool. Thank you very much for being here from Liverpool. I was about to say that's a place in England that I haven't been to, but I have briefly. I had had to be in the north. When was that? It doesn't matter. That would be a tangent. We don't want to do that. Naples, Florida, Stanhope, New Jersey, North Carolina, San Mateo, California. Good to see the Bay Area in the house. So on and so forth. Thank you very much. Western Colorado, Pittsburgh, PA. I would say PGH Deb is definitely from Pittsburgh. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Let's see. Broke Stacker, how is the grand jury put together? Grand juries, everybody, are actually, you get a jury summons the same way you get a jury summons for regular old jury duty. You're just impaneled onto the grand jury, and they do it in sessions. They don't do it for, like, days of a trial. So there will be 1 or 2, or sometimes, depending on the size of the county, 10 grand juries impaneled, and prosecutors will come into the grand jury room and make their presentation. Some grand juries are investigative grand juries. Some are the kind like this one, where they are finding whether there is probable cause or not. Basically, do we believe that that there's enough evidence that a prosecutor could bring charges against this person? If so, we indict. So it's people in the county, citizens of the area, that get called in for jury duty. Great question. I've never been on a grand jury myself. Let's see. The Quiet Fringe says, "Good evening, Gavin, Fishies, and everyone. New Jersey here. Having taken a break from true crime for a while, Gavin has been the calm lighthouse for returning." Well, I'm glad. We do try and keep things a little chill around here. We try to cut past the fluff, cut past the sensationalism, get right into the nitty gritty of true crime. And I'm glad that you're here. Let's see. Patricia Burns, Gavin, here in the UK, one is only allowed a license for a suppressor if you host hunting parties on your own farmland. Wow, a very utilitarian reason for a suppressor. So as to not startle the prey, I'm guessing. Interesting. Mouse 51960 says, Jersey here. What about doing a crime in front of a child that hasn't been mentioned? I wonder if let's let me just do a little askaroo. Does Ohio have special circumstances for murder in front of a child? Let's see if we murder or aggravated murder with a child witness. Ohio allows prosecutors to seek harsher penalties when the offense is committed in the presence of a minor. Under Ohio sentencing law, the court consider as an aggravating factor that the victim's child or another minor was present, the child directly witnessed the killing or aftermath, the exposure caused psychological harm to the child. This does not automatically elevate murder to aggravated murder, but it strongly impacts sentencing and can support maximum penalties. Of course, they can do a separate charge of endangering children, which is Ohio Revised Code 2919.22. So I think we might be able to infer here, Mouse, that a child was not directly present, was not in the room when it happened. And, media reports and even the police have said the children were not harmed. And I've been very careful to add in a qualifier there. The children were not physically harmed. The children were definitely harmed. They just were not physically harmed. You know what? I don't think I've been yawning, but now I'm thinking about it. Dang it, K. Wills. I heard if you touch your nose with your tongue, it stops yawning. I wish that I could touch my tongue or my nose with my tongue. Mooney says, didn't Ohio charge Brian Koberger with felony burglary too? I think so. Yes. Detroit says, I can only imagine what your search history looks like. I know. Not for the purposes that one might think, but for the purposes of protecting my reputation, I have asked my loved ones to wipe my search history if I do meet an untimely end, because it's all about crime, man. That's funny. All right, let's see. Panda Ann says, book smart, street smart, and common sense are all different levels of intelligence. Boy, are you not kidding about that. Yeah. Yeah. I remember I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with a couple of guys. They were brothers who they got outstanding grades. but I just felt like they were dumb as rocks. I will not name them because it's not like I was some like bastion of intelligence, or anything. But yeah, it just, and you know, the human beast, which we all, I assume, that are watching are one. There might be some little kitty cats or quadrupedic creatures that are watching this, but most of us are human beings. I think that our emotions can overpower our brains, our intelligence, right? We can be driven to do things that we would not reasonably or logically come to those conclusions to do unless there's something wrong. Of course, it all happens in our brain, but like something's wrong emotionally. Yeah. So this guy was highly intelligent, doesn't seem to have a lot of common sense. And when I say this guy, I mean this guy, Mr. McKee or Dr. McKee. In my opinion, says, hello from southeastern Kentucky. Does anyone know if there was camera footage of the backyard? Also, did he know how to pick a lock? So as far as I can tell, there is no direct information from investigators, from police, from prosecutors that say how he entered the house, if he how he did that. We know that they received camera footage from all over the place. They only released the one view of the Nest camera, I think it was, publicly, but they have said that they got all sorts of video from the neighborhood. So I don't know if there was a camera in the backyard, on the house, in the house. I don't know specifically. But I should, last week when we were talking about this, one of the things that I told you guys are these keypad entry, locks. The ones that you can buy from Lowe's or Home Depot or from Amazon, the kind of consumer grade ones, they are easily defeatable. And YouTube is full of videos on how to defeat them. My favorite channel when it comes to that kind of stuff is Lockpicking Lawyer, but there are other channels as well. These are easily defeatable. But you know what else is really easy to do? If somebody has binoculars or a telephoto lens or whatever, they can stalk from a long way away and just simply watch to see what the code is. And I remember when I was a kid, the church building that we went to had one of those keypads for us to get into, but instead of just a regular keypad, when you activated the keypad, it put the numbers all in a different place. So if somebody watched you put in the number, they wouldn't be able to get in anyway. Like, there are very, very good systems out there. I think they're mostly commercial, but you can buy them and you can be secure in your homes. The other thing, I mean, if he had any technical expertise in terms of mobile devices or things like that, he could have hacked her app. He could have cloned her phone. There's lots of different things. I'm very interested to find out what it was that actually happened there. Also, oh my goodness, there are so many. There's so many tools. Like, if there's so many tools to just bypass a lock altogether. Or, you don't have to do single pin picking to pick a lock. In many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, there are tools where you can just reach around and unlock it from the inside, and you can get under the door or get through the gap. There are tons of tools, and it's also pretty cool that we can be educated like this, but also people who have nefarious intent can go to places like YouTube and find out how to do this and practice at home. They can buy those tools on Amazon. it's yeah. So and actually, if he defeated it instead of breaking in, which is what we understand, there was no sign of forced entry. That also goes to premeditation for me, and I think that a jury would agree too. Great comment, guys. Great comments. Love them. Let me refresh file here. Just Ducky says, wonder if his prints were on the shell casings. If not, that's kind of premeditation too. Yeah. And remember with shell casings, there are many ways with shell casings that forensic scientists can match them to the gun. The one that we tend to think of is the dimpling, right, on the primer. So on the back of a shell casing, let's assume this is 9mm. It's not rim fire, it's center fire. There's a primer where a pin will go in and it will ignite the primer, which ignites the powder inside, which, propels the bullet. Those firing pins can be matched to those impressions, but also on ejector style firearms, the scratches on the casing from the ejector mechanism can also be matched. So even if well, and as Just Ducky brings up, there could be other forensic evidence like fingerprints or DNA found on those shell casings. But so I think they've got their guy here. I think they've got their guy. But if prints are on the shell casings, also premeditated. I agree. I agree with that. Dandelion says most intelligent people have no common sense. I think that's painting with broad strokes, but I have certainly found that true in some people, for sure. Patricia Burns says his preoccupation with Monique and ending her happiness left no room for him to make less mistakes in getting away with the crime. Great comment. Victoria Manroe says, wondering about the poor patients who found out a double murder did surgery on them. Feel bad for them. Yeah. How close you are in your daily life to a murderer. Is there a diagnostic in the DM3 on mental health referencing narcissistic behavior? Well, that's a great question. Let's find out. The current DSM, which is 5, the current diagnostic manual, DSM-5, includes a formal diagnosis called narcissistic personality disorder under personality disorders. Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Couple of other comments. The numbers may have been worn out. Possibly. Driving there is premeditated. Yes. Robin saying, I think he had no plans to get away with it. That's why he left the bullet casings, drove his car, and kept the gun. Yeah, possibly. Maybe he's just like, you know what? I don't want her to be happy, and the end of my life is cool too. Yeah, could be. Could be. Great comments, guys. Okay, the next thing I want to bring you over to is an article coming from people.com. It says controlling doctor saw ex-wife in love with dentist and it, quote, destroyed his fragile little ego. This is according to a friend. This was published last Friday. All right, and written by Chris Spargo. There was a time when Michael McKee and Monique Tepe were very much in love, according to a friend who knew the former couple. After divorcing in 2017, less than 2 years after they married in 2015, Monique struggled for a while, but was soon back to her old self again and putting herself out there, the friend tells People. That led her to meeting Spencer Tepe through an online dating app, says the friend, and in 2020, she went on to marry the dentist and fellow Ohio State University alum. That fairy tale romance ended in tragedy, however, on December 30th. Monique and Spencer were killed inside their Columbus, Ohio home, just a few blocks away from their alma mater, as their 2 children, ages 4 and 1, were asleep in their bedrooms. Then on January 10th, 2026, McKee was arrested and accused of murdering the couple more than 8 years after his divorce from Monique. The friend who still spoke to Monique but had not spoken to McKee in years said that McKee's anger may have come from seeing his ex-wife's happiness. Quote, he thought she could live without him, that she needed him, so for her to thrive in her new marriage, that just destroyed his fragile little ego, the friend says. McKee and Monique married in August 2015, but things began to sour after they moved to Virginia for McKee's post-medical school residency, according to the friend. Quote, at first, when it was just starting out, they seemed so happy and they were so in love, but he was always manipulative, she alleges. She also says that it took years for her to realize McKee was doing these things and finding ways of, quote, bending things to his will. She adds, quote, he needed to be in control of most situations, but wouldn't make it seem like he was controlling the situation. This, so very, very good at manipulating, right? What we have come to call, it's a term that my wife really hates, but it has entered the public zeitgeist, we have come to call gaslighting, right? He needed to be in control of most situations, but wouldn't make it seem like he was controlling the situation. He also allegedly exerted a level of control over Monique, says the friend. That became more evident when the newlyweds moved to Virginia. That alleged control and Monique's displeasure about living almost 5 hours from her family and friends played a big part in the couple's split. Quote, she is a family girl and a girl's girl. She needs that in her life, and she didn't have it. It was just the two of them in a new place, and she had no support system, the friend says. After the divorce, Monique moved on, but the friend says McKee did not do the same. Monique remarried to Spencer, a man referred to as the love of her life by friends and family, in 2020, and according to the friend, they were so happy. Quote, everything you see is completely true because that's who they were. That's how much love and pride and joy they had for one another, the friend says. They really were perfect. Their kids really were perfect. Their life really was perfect. It probably wasn't perfect, but it was probably great, right? McKee would ask around about Monique whenever he saw a mutual acquaintance, says the friend, who then addressed the rumors of McKee stalking Monique prior to the murders. Quote, I'll say that we've been talking about it, but none of us ever actually saw any evidence of this, the friend says, adding that Monique also never mentioned anything about McKee. Quote, she had moved on, the friend tells People. He had not. A grand jury in Franklin County voted to indict McKee on 4 counts of aggravated murder and a single count of aggravated robbery on Friday, January 16th. He is currently in custody at the Winnebago County Jail in Illinois while awaiting his extradition to Ohio. I think that we'll probably see him in Ohio by the end of the week. Police previously told People that McKee invoked his Fifth Amendment right to self-incrimination. I mean, it's not a right to self-incriminate. It's a right to not self-incriminate. So that was kind of, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right to self-incrimination. Hey, everybody, I did it. I'm invoking my rights to incriminate myself. No, that was written incorrectly. It's his Fifth Amendment right not to self-incriminate after his arrest and refused to speak with detectives. So was he stalking Monique Tepe? Is that the way that he got in, or is that just something that we're all talking about because it's a possibility? I think probably the latter is most likely. I think, unfortunately for us who want to know these things, but fortunately for the system, with the indictment means we're not going to get any type of preliminary hearing where we would hear evidence that would give us more information. But anyway, that is what I have for you today. Let's see what other comments you guys may have made. Doesn't look like it. So, yeah, coercive control and gaslighting, says Mooney. Yeah, I do believe they had, I think they did have an alarm on their home. I I I don't know that, I guess. I don't remember, but you guys are asking about whether or not they had alarms on their home. I believe so, which, I mean, getting in by the keypad, does that turn off? I don't know. Son of Hibbs says he had to have been stalking her. Yeah, I mean, these are things that we definitely need to find the answers for, and hopefully we will get that if this goes to trial. You know what time it is, guys? You know what time it is? Time for 3 questions.
It's
Let's go.
3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, in the 3 question segment of my show, I answer 3 of your questions. Was this my idea? No, it's my buddy Kenny's idea. I stole it from him. I'm a full-on thief. I should be charged with aggravated idea burglary because that's what I did. I went into his head and I got the idea. But it's a great idea that I have been using ever since. If you want to ask me a question, you can ask me 1 question. You can ask me 3. You can ask me 1,000. You can send in 1,000 different emails. I don't care. But I will answer 3 per show. Okay, all you have to do is email them to 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out THREE, questions@gavinfish.com, 3questions@gavinfish.com. I will endeavor to answer all of your questions honestly, truthfully, to the best of my ability. What I think one of the questions tonight we've had before, but let's have a go at it because we got new viewers all the time. If you could have an interview or have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be with, and what would you ask? So I'm assuming by this question that it would be like, honestly, the answer is my wife. I would just hang out with my wife, and that's all I would do for the rest of my days. But let's just assume that it's somebody that is a stranger or somebody of some fame or reputation or of historical importance. And I think my answer is going to change all the time, depending on how I'm feeling, I guess. You know, right now, I think right now it'd probably be Eisenhower. I wouldn't mind sitting down to dinner with Ike and assuming that he would engage in this conversation, and I would ask him about D-Day because he was the one that had to make the decision to say, yeah, I'm willing. We have to be willing to sacrifice all these lives in order to save all of these others, and that's tough, man. That's tough. So yeah, maybe Eisenhower right now. But I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. Socrates. So Socrates, what does hemlock taste like? No, that's horrible. That is horrible. I should not. I need to repent of that. That was uncool. Okay, question number 2. Long one. I once stayed at a fancy hotel in Nolens that had a chef-staffed gourmet level peanut butter and jelly buffet at midnight. Oh, that's kind of awesome. I'm not a like a jarred peanut butter fan all that much. Maybe it was just too many peanut butter sandwiches growing up, right? I don't like my Skippies. I don't like my Jifs. I don't like the homogenated, overly sweetened peanut butter. Nor do I like peanut butter candy like Reese's peanut butter cups or peanut butter M&Ms. They're just too sweet. But I do love peanuts, and I love like fresh ground peanut butter. So I'm imagining this gourmet level peanut butter and jelly buffet. I'm imagining terrific peanut butter. This is reminding me, oh my goodness. No, this is a tangent. This is a tangent. Dang it. It's a tangent, guys, but I got to do it. As you guys know, I served as a missionary in my youth in Argentina. In Argentina, there's no peanut butter. People don't eat peanut butter. At least when I was there, and this was like 30 years ago. But peanut butter wasn't a thing, and it was a thing for us Americans that were down there. I wasn't really part of that crowd because I just had so much peanut butter in my life. But all of the missionaries and volunteers from America just wanted peanut butter all the time. And the problem was it was very expensive to ship, and if you shipped something, if your parents shipped you something, it would be open and the thing that was shipped would be stolen. That's just the way it was. So we're always light on peanut butter. However, I served in an area called Rio Segundo, and Rio Segundo was it's in the province of Cordoba, right in the middle of the country, and it has nothing but peanut fields around it. I mean, miles and miles and miles of peanut fields. And I was talking to somebody about like, what is the deal with these peanut fields? You guys don't eat peanuts? And they're like, yeah, we grow them for the United States. And I was like, so you ship peanuts to the United States? No, what we do is we grind it down and we put it in barrels and we ship it to the United States. And I was like, wait a minute, you're talking about peanut butter here. So he was like an executive at the plant. I said, is it possible for an employee to buy one of those barrels of peanut butter? He's like, sure. Yeah, I could buy one. We're allowed to. Why would I do that? I'm like, because there's so many Americans that miss it. So I gave him like 5 pesos and he got me, in my memory, it was like a 50-gallon drum, but it may have been smaller, 35 gallons or something like that, of fresh ground peanut butter. And I put it in my apartment, and the four of us that lived in that apartment ate peanut butter. And yeah, and then when I left, it's not like I could take it with me, but we'd have others come down. It became a party place because we had peanut butter. That is totally a tangent. And I love that story. I didn't care, but everybody else certainly did. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Gourmet peanut butter buffet. A smart way to get food into guests coming back from or headed out to Bourbon Street. What is an unexpected or unusual hotel service or amenity that delighted you and has stuck in your memory? So in my travel, I am usually usually I'm not staying in a hotel anymore. I usually rent a flat somewhere, either on Verbo or Airbnb or something like that. Occasionally I'm in a hotel. Um, one time I was in the south of England in one of those hotels that was just an old fancy house converted into a hotel later. And I had arrived really late, like maybe 11 or 11:30 at night. And it being not like I wasn't going to a Marriott or something, it was just this little independent hotel. It had a little pub in it and everything. And I arrived late and was hungry, and I asked, "Is there anywhere in town where I could grab something to eat?" And I was just told, "Sorry, love, no, there's nothing to eat. Everything is closed. But come on to the pub, I'll make you." And he made me like a, I think it was like a beet and goat cheese salad. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like beets all that much, pickled beets. But it was a delicious salad, and he went out of his way to give me something that would satiate me overnight until I could get something to eat. I like, there are good people everywhere, and I dig that. Uh, now I have stayed in really fancy hotels. Like I stayed in the Waldorf Astoria one time, and my coworker Steve, who I told you about our experience in Paris, same Steve, he got upgraded to a suite because they were just out of rooms. So we're hanging out in this Waldorf Astoria suite, and I ordered a Caesar salad, and I said, please no anchovies. And they went the extra mile and took they like made dressing without anchovies for me. It was so great. So yeah, I've stayed in some really nice places. Oh, no, I'm going on too long. One time I was in Bangkok and I had gotten my dates wrong. I packed up and I thought that I had my flight. So I went down to check out and they said, Mr. Fish, we have you until tomorrow. And I looked at my flight and sure enough, I'd crossed the international date line. I'd gotten it wrong. And so I had an extra day. And so I went to the concierge, and the concierge hired me a driver and a tour guide. And we just went up into the bush, man. We went up into the jungle. We saw all sorts of like ruins, old Buddhist temples, We went to, existing and thriving Buddhist temples. We went to an elephant farm. I mean, and it was just me, my driver, my tour guide. We spent the entire day just out in the jungle. It was amazing. Yeah, so I've had cool experiences like that. I'll post a picture of me feeding an elephant in Thailand in the tank. Okay, last question. Is there someone who made a small gesture or comment to you that had a significant impact? Oh, by the way, dang it, I forgot to tell you guys this. I love to read your answers to these questions too. So please put if you have an answer to one of these questions, put it in the comments. Okay, is there someone who made a small gesture or comment to you that had a significant impact on where you are in life, perhaps a stranger or someone you still know, but they likely didn't realize how greatly their action affected you? What did they do or say, and who, if you want to share? There have been so many. Goodness sake. Yeah, okay. This might have been about 15 years ago. A bunch of us got together. It was on our late friend's birthday, if I remember correctly. And we got together to celebrate him. And I was talking with one of my friends that I hadn't seen in a while. I'd actually dated her for a short time. She was amazing. And we were chatting, and the subject of one of our church leaders when we were kids came up. And I said out loud, I don't like that guy at all. And she went, what? What? How do you not like him? He's the best. And I remembered that I had it maybe 12, 13 years old. He snapped at me over something that I definitely did. It wasn't his fault, right? But he had had enough of me that day, and I had been harboring a grudge against him ever since. And I want to say that had been like 20 years or something. It'd been way too long. I was a grown up. I was a grown man, and I should have been able to figure out that people have bad days. And I was an intolerable kid. Really tough to take. So anyway, she told me how great he was, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then maybe a month later, I ran into him, and he goes, hey, I understand I did something that hurt you. Let's talk about it. And we sat down and we had a conversation for the first time since I was 12 or 13 years old. And I found him to be amazing. And he apologized for the day. He had no reason to apologize. He's just like, it was a hard time. I was a young father. And he apologized. And I was like, you know what, Gavin, you are a real piece of work here, man. He has nothing to apologize for. Anyway, that conversation with him completely changed my outlook on how I try to treat people now. Like, I try to extend as much grace as I can. I try to be as forgiving as I can. When there are times where somebody in particular really aggravates me, I try to just take a breather, just because it was him it was he that extended grace to me that I didn't deserve and taught me that lesson. So, yeah, I guess that is how I would answer that question. I'd love to know if you guys have a similar answer to that question. But before you tell me, let's move into headlines so you have time to clickety clack and tell me your answers.
True crime headlines.
How? Okie dokie. Join me over here on Acrobat for a couple of true crime headlines that are happening in our world right now. Investigator, this from yesterday, mensjournal.com. Investigator makes blunt statement on status of David Celeste Rivas Hernandez murder case. This is written by Matt Laddick. Over 4 months ago, the dismembered and decomposed body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas was found inside the trunk of a car registered to singer David. Since then, blah, 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 nothing's been happening. Okay. Private investigator Steve Fisher was hired to look into the death, as we know. Fisher has made clear he thinks foul play is likely what caused Rivas's death, revealing sadistic and unnerving discoveries he allegedly discovered at the Hollywood Hills residence. However, none of what here police have found so far has led to any substantial movement in the case, which Fisher lamented in a blunt statement on X last Thursday. Quote, "Today is January 15th, 2026, and still no one has been charged or even officially named a suspect for harboring a minor, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, filing a false police report, committing sex crimes against a minor, concealing a body, homicide, or acting as an accessory to any of these crimes in connection with the death of Celeste. At this point, it can't even be called a case." And then it goes on to say that Fisher did discover what he called a burn cage and a chainsaw at the Hollywood Hills home. He said in an interview with Newsweek, "Whatever happened here, it wasn't a finalized plan. She was not meant to be left in that Tesla," Fisher said. "The plan got upended." So I keep searching every day for any update on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Haven't found anything yet. Police are very quiet about it. All right. Here's an update again from yesterday. This is from Newsweek.com. Missing Jack and Lily Sullivan update. Court docs reveal abuse allegations. We did talk about this a little bit last week, but there's a little bit more here. Newly unsealed. This is written by Holly Silverman. Newly unsealed court documents reveal allegations of abuse in the months leading up to the disappearance of Jack and Lily Sullivan, two Nova Scotia siblings missing since May. Malia Brooks Murray, the mother of the children, and we learned this last week, accused the stepfather of being physically abusive toward her on multiple occasions. He denied any wrongdoing. And then I want to skip down to the bottom. None of the allegations have been tested in court, and Martel has not faced charges related to these statements. Martel spoke to Global News on Friday, saying that he has been honest with investigators about everything and would continue to cooperate in the investigation. Quote, "It was always Daniel's evil, Daniel's a monster, and with that painted narrative, the public automatically will just jump to the belief of guilty," he said. "I never abused Malia. Our fights were about just typical things, ups and downs that happen in relationships. Everybody has them, but it never turned into physical in any way." He said that he's submitted blood samples and supports the release of more court documents. And then finally, going to the case of Caitlin Tracy. Man, I've got a sneeze coming on. Woo! Excuse me. Defense claims there's no evidence that points to their client in Tracy's autopsy results. They want their client Bacharink, Mr. Bacharink, to be released. Written by whom? Who is this? It just says Fox 32 Chicago. A man accused of throwing his wife over a 24th floor railing at their South Loop condominium is seeking pretrial release. Adam Bacharink, 47, is charged with murder in the death of Caitlin Tracy. His attorneys argue there's no evidence linking him to her death. Defense attorneys said Tracy struggled with drug and alcohol use and that her autopsy showed both substances were in her system at the time she died. They also argued Bacharink had limited mobility due to recent knee surgery. Prosecutors countered that there is substantial evidence tying Bacharink to the crime, including evidence found in the stairwell where Tracy died. Bacharink was extradited to Chicago this week. He had been serving a sentence in Michigan for a separate DV case. So that case continues. We will see if he does get released pretrial or not. I hope not. Really hope not. That guy seems like a complete and total piece of work. And those, my friends, are your headlines. Let's get into your comments.
True crime headlines.
Pow. Okay, comments. Rachel asked, Gavin, do you think he will plead guilty? I think you're talking about Mr. McKee. The likelihood is yes, that Mr. McKee will plead guilty, but time will tell. Joy says, thank you immensely, Gavin, for answering my query. You're most welcome. Let's see. Patricia Burns says, if you ever come to England again, I live in a high-rise apartment block, and we have a smallish furnished apartment for use for family and friends. It costs just £8 per night. Give me a heads up. Awesome. Yeah. Are you? Well, I will be in London later this year. Yeah. I would love that. If you're anywhere close to London, I would love that. Patricia, go to gavinfish.com. Let me show you. gavinfish.com. Where is it? And then click on this little thing, this little icon right there. That will take you to a form where you can send me your info, and I would gladly take you up on that, because I'm telling you, London's expensive, man. Muy expensive. Thank you very much for that. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. England is a place that I frequent. I'm there a lot. Let's see. Patricia says, my mom died when I was very small. I don't remember much of her, but I met a woman in adulthood who treated me like a daughter and made me feel like I at last had a mom. I will never forget her hug. That is beautiful. So happy. That's cool. Robin says, Gavin, we just love you all so much. Thanks for hosting a great show every week. I love you guys too. You guys are amazing. Unboxed Life with Lori says, Gavin, I think the Tepes were good law-abiding people and saw good in people. My 2 cents about the lock, more than likely had a generic lock that was easily decoded. Yeah, I think probably. Mooney says, congrats on the 141,000 subs. Yeah, we bumped up to 141. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's see. Emmy says, I once stayed in a hotel with my 3-month-old, and I got in late and ordered room service. The woman that delivered my food also had a newborn, and she missed her baby and fed my son while I ate. How sweet is that? That is awesome. There are good people everywhere, everyone. I know that we, as a hobby, as an interest, we hang out in this true crime world where it's really, really easy to get down on the world. But my experience, and, backed up, Exhibit A is Emmy's comment. It's, in my experience, they're just terrific people everywhere. And yeah, and I believe that Monique and Spencer Tepe were 2 of those people. They're just terrific, everyday, good folks. And it's a wonderful thing to live in a world full of such goodness. And I think, it's appropriate for us to talk about crime and to learn from stories like this, and to try to protect ourselves in the future without getting too paranoid or overworked about it. But it sure is good to know that there are great people everywhere. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful that you spent some time with me. I will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here on this channel. Remember, you can always reach out to me at gavinfish.com, my website, and you can hang out with us on Facebook, in the Fish Tank. I don't know why Facebook always does that, but in the Fish Tank, which is our group on Facebook, where me and 6,000 other people hang out and talk about true crime, and sometimes me. It's a little, there's Elizabeth singing, look at that. So yeah, there's lots of stuff going on over there. The easiest way to find it is go to gavinfish.com and click on the little fishy icon up in the upper right hand corner. Okay, thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow. Until then, I bid you adieu, and hope you take care of yourselves until then. See you then. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.